And thank you, Health Affairs. I want to recognize my co-author, Jeff Moe, who's sitting over here. Jeff came up primarily to see his daughter, who's at GW, but he also came along to answer any difficult questions that you might have today. So any tough questions, please refer to my co-author, Jeff Moe, right here. I agree with Ramanan about the immediate need for combination treatments for malaria in order to avoid drug resistance. I also want to talk to you this morning about long-term needs for new treatments to address drug resistance and in general to provide treatments for neglected diseases. In this Health Affairs article, we propose a novel incentive mechanism, as Phil said, so that pharmaceutical companies will have an incentive to conduct research and development for drugs for neglected diseases. Neglected diseases such as malaria, as Ramanan rightly focused on, a tremendous burden, but also tuberculosis, Chagas, dengue, leishmaniasis, trypanosomiasis. Let me talk just briefly about leishmaniasis. Again, rightly, malaria and tuberculosis get a lot of attention because of the enormous suffering. But there's so much suffering from these neglected diseases. Leishmaniasis kills about 50,000 people each year. It eats away at the nose and mouth tissues. The victims are ostracized. The World Health Organization estimates the loss in terms of disability-adjusted life years of 2 million per year. So why aren't there more treatments for these neglected diseases? Again, the problem is that the victims are poor. So the pharmaceutical manufacturers don't have an incentive to conduct research and development because they don't expect to be able to recoup those costs. So what we want to propose is a prize. If you develop a drug for a neglected disease and you find at least one generic manufacturer, hopefully more, so you're giving up your patent rights and letting generic manufacturers produce it, then in return you get priority review for a different treatment. So let me be clear, I'm talking about two separate treatments here. Drug for neglected disease, the prize is priority review for something else. What is priority review? The FDA has two classifications of review, standard and priority. On average, standard review takes about 18 months. Priority review takes about 6 months. So we're not talking about shorter clinical trials. We're talking about a more intense effort on the cost of the Food and Drug Administration. They already do this for some products that they deem priority. And it's costly for FDA to do this faster. So in addition to having to develop a drug for a neglected disease and get that voucher, you would also need to pay the FDA a user fee of $1 million to offset FDA's costs in terms of personnel and resources in order to be able to speed that other drug through. But that extra user fee and earning that voucher would be worth it. Because we estimate that the value of coming to market a year sooner, going from 18 months to 6 months of review time, would be more than $300 million for a blockbuster drug. So if you have a blockbuster drug, you want to get your hands on one of these vouchers in order to have priority review, get to market faster. So we think that this is a win-win. On the one hand, we have incentives for treatments for neglected diseases, and on the other hand, consumers in the U.S. get access to a blockbuster drug a year sooner, and they also get access to that blockbuster drug's generics a year sooner, because if time at FDA is shortened, that moves the patent life a little bit forward. So this would tend to shift your patent life or shift things forward at the end so that years in the future when the products are going to go off patent, it would go off patent a little bit sooner and there'd be faster access to generics. So again, a win-win, we think. Treatments for neglected disease, faster access in the U.S. for blockbusters and later on for generics. We think this mechanism might even be applicable to diseases of bioterror as well, just as an aside. And another aside, let me just do a quick separate plug. We have another paper in this issue as well, page 429, Spending on Post-Approval Drug Safety. If you want to talk about that 11, that'd be great. But I'm going to step aside and just say, again, we just want to point out the tremendous need, that we need incentives for research for neglected diseases. We have a proposal that appears in this issue of Health Affairs. Owen Barter, one of the discussants, is a principal on another important mechanism, And I hope you'll have a chance to ask Owen about that in the Q&A. Thanks.